Welcome to Access a Trader, the #1 community for those who are committed to taking control of their trading in order to achieve success, profitability, and longevity. Thank you for joining us. Here's Dan Shapiro to help you find your edge, master your process, and own your future.
Hey guys, good evening everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AccessATrader.com Weekend Update Show. Hope everybody is doing well. It is a few minutes before the close on Friday. I don't know when you guys are going to see this video. Maybe at some point Friday evening or Saturday morning, but I'm recording it now. I have an incredibly busy weekend. If you guys can do me, again, continue this favor, and thank you very much for stopping by, supporting the channel. All I ask is if you like the content, click a like. It'll take you a second and it will help us grow. So let's talk about the tape, right? Number one, we are in kind of a holding pattern. Actually, before we go into the holding pattern, one last announcement for all you guys who are interested. Again, we've been talking about it for several weeks. The PS60 refresher. I don't want to call it a course. I don't want to call it that nonsense. I did the last PS60 theory workshop we did was 5-6 years ago. Again, I don't do these things all the time. I just thought it was kind of a time to do a refresher, 20-30 minutes of the the core PS60 theory, and then the two topics we want to kind of break down for this next version is using option flow, identifying option flow the right way for the correlation of pivots, right? Pivot confirmation. And then obviously something we've been, adapting in the last several years are these rejection bounce areas off the 60 and 5-minute channel. So that's going to be kind of the focal point. If you are interested and you are coming aboard next week, might as well, again, take advantage and stop by Sunday. It's going to be Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, the PS60 latest installment of the workshop. So let's talk about the market, right? We're kind of in a holding pattern. We are definitely in a holding pattern here. Obviously, the big story continues to be the Iran-Israeli conflict that's going on. And the reason why we are in a holding pattern, the world is pretty much trying to figure out if the United States is going to get involved and what type of capacity and what type of meaningful or passive way. And you kind of keep on hearing headlines coming from the Trump administration. Well, we'll see. We don't know if if we are going to strike Iran. They still have an opportunity for peace. But right now, all we're seeing, if you are like me and you're seeing these horrific missiles just hitting people's buildings, and it's just absolutely out of its mind. One person, casualty is way too much, and that's what we're getting right now. So the world is kind of in this holding pattern to see if the Trump administration can kind of make this, unfortunately, fight kind of go away, or at least get some sort of truce, some speaking, some healthy dialogue involved. And right now, the market's doing absolutely nothing. The reason why, you can look at your stocks, right? Look at the mega cap stocks that we follow, right? That we follow on a day-to-day basis. Amazon is in a holding pattern. Nvidia is in a holding pattern. Microsoft is in a holding pattern. You kind of get it, right? Meta, right? Tesla, nothing's doing it, right? Nothing's doing anything because we want to see some sort of definitive, right? Some sort of definitive words, some definitive language that's going to come and make everybody at least have a little bit more clarity. What is working right now are the speculation names, right? The speculation darlings that have massive, massive option flow. And we've been speaking about these names pretty much every single day, for the exception for the last one, which was Coinbase that lit up a couple of days ago. But the same names, right? The same names that are being lit up are the same names that the market, the options market has been going crazy, right? So Circle, right? We've been talking about Circle off and on for a while, right? And if you look at the option flow today, the stock is up another 42 points. If you look at the option flow on Circle today, a guy came in. I mean, this is really where this market is. While everything else is going sideways, a guy comes in. This is roughly around 11:40 in the morning. He comes in, lays down 450 grand that the stock is going to be at $300 next week, right? That's the kind of action we're seeing. a name like CRWV, again, if you've been tuning into this broadcast, you're kind of seeing the same thing. Guys, look at these bets that they're coming for on CRWV, right? For next week, somebody bet 583,000 for next week's 200. I caught CRWV twice today, which was really, really good. So CRWV, a buyer comes in for 1,000 of next week's 200 calls. Another guy comes in for 270,000 for next week's $200 calls. If you look at Coinbase, right? If you look at Coinbase had an incredibly, really, really great run, right? In the last 24 days, 24 hours. And you can see next week they come for the 320s, all day today for the 305s, the 310s. So the options market is definitely rewarding the very aggressive, right? Very aggressive speculation money, and everything else is going sideways. And if you look at a lot of names, right? And let me give you guys some names to kind of look for next week. But if you look at the names that we'll talk about right now, and again, obviously the market's not closed just yet, and obviously I'll start charting. You'll see more names as I chart. But if you look at some names going into next week, right? If you look at some names that are going into next week, you can see there's some pretty good value, right? Like look at a name, for example, like BKSY, right? BKSY, you got massive expansion volume. You remember a couple of days ago, we talked about PACS with the expansion volume, right? You remember that? We talked about there was expansion volume should follow through. I mean, expansion volume went from 1240 all the way almost up to 14. So you talk about a stock like, for example, like BKSY, right? That fits the bill. You have expansion volume today, 4.2 million shares versus an average. You can see here the average volume in this thing is like 1.8, 1.3 million shares. So you have 4 times, 5 times volume coming out of a channel. Again, that's a bullish thing. Look at SMCI, right? Look at SMCI as well. You got a very, very tight channel here. They were coming for the $50 calls next week. Is this something that could finally wake up and go absolutely crazy? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. That's the whole point. When everything else rests, the second, the third, the fourth tier stocks start waking up. It's a very, very important part to understand. Look at MSTR though, right? MSTR the other way, right? The other way. It's now holding on to the 50-day moving average 3 days in a row, right? 3 days in a row now. And again, for all you guys who've been following me for a very, very long time, you kind of know above the 50 bullish, below the 50 bearish. And it's literally holding on for dear life, like the G.I. Joe and the Kung Fu grip. I kind of dated myself. But again, such a name we definitely want to watch for next week. Look at Tesla. Something has to give for Tesla, right? This is now a long, long distribution, folks. This is a very long distribution. There's no value right now to the downside. There's no value right now to the upside. It's just sitting here hugging, right? Hugging the 20-day moving average. Every single time it hits the 20-day moving average, it fades. Hits the 20-day fades. Hits the 20-day fades. Say again, hit the 20-day phase. So the moral of the story is it either needs to next week get back above the 20-day moving average and start going absolutely nuts, or it's going to lose this whole support here and start attacking the 50-day moving average. One to be determined. NVIDIA, right? Look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA just continues to hug the 10-day. You can see how many times it held the 10-day moving average. Held it once here on May the 23rd, held it again on May the 30th, held it again on June the 13th, held it again today. Any close below the 10-day moving average on NVIDIA, it's going to get hit. So the more it stays above, the healthier the market will build. Now, here's the point for going for next week. The question is how long the market stays stagnant, at least the general overall market. Again, you can always find things to do. But how long can the overall market stay stagnant without a negative reaction? Because remember, the old adage is the longer stock stays in the range, that's usually a good thing, right? Just because the sellers are comfortable at that level. But at the same time, how long can the buyers stay at those levels, knowing that there's potential really aggressive scenario from the United States? Because again, just the idea that Trump said, man, we'll still monitor the situation. Maybe next week we'll take action. Again, remember, he already gave the military the green light. He just hasn't given them the green light to attack. So that's the fear, right? The fear is at any point, he could just give the green light. And next thing we know, we are an active participant. Again, we don't want to be, guys. That, the point is, we don't want to have our young men and women serving in the military, being targets. We just don't want to. Okay, I understand we're always the ones that have to police the world. We get it, but we want to avoid that. We want to avoid the war. We want to avoid casualties. And the fear is, the longer we kind of go sideways, the longer the market goes stagnant, the fear is that we will go, right? If we will go, if there is absolutely no resolution, at least some sort of diplomacy that's going to happen in the next few days. So it's going to be very, very important to see. But that's it, guys. Hope everybody is doing well. For all you guys who want to take advantage and just be on board, right? Be on board next week. Take advantage of the PS60 refresher on Sunday. Believe me, it's not going to be boring. The last thing I want to do is sit there and dictate BS for 2 hours. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interactive. If anybody knows about me, the last thing I want to do is do a monologue for 2 hours. It's going to be a lot of Q&A, a lot of nonsense that we always do. But the most important part is we will get everybody on the same page. We'll do a quick refresher on the PS60 as a whole, and then we'll start diving into the option flow and the bounces and rejections. Guys, have a great night, everybody. Have a blessed weekend. I'll see a lot of new faces on Sunday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.